Hello. I feel really awkward right now, so just bear with me. And thus ends the video portion of the Dharma talk. I couldn't bear it. Eventually, I'll get better at videotaping myself and projecting it into the earth. Right now, I'm not great at it, so I can't bear it, and I'm going to stick to a black screen with a voiceover. I was initially going to include a picture of me with my face superimposed onto a cat. But that's distracting. I'm not going to do that. So it's just going to be black. Don DeLillo has this great quote in his book Mount 2 about, somebody's leaving a message on an answering machine. And in that message, he says that, it's odd to talk to a machine. And that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. It's something I'm struggling with during this quarantine, is talking to machines, or the idea of a listener. So I don't know. Maybe next time maybe on the next one there'll be a videotape Dharma talk. Two little points of interest. I am going to do this voiceover on the whole thing. It's delightful, and there is a video of the practice, which you can look at when you feel lost or you don't know exactly what I'm saying, but you should try and do the whole practice just through the words, rather than racking your neck up and looking at the video from whatever position you're in. Hopefully my words will be clear enough. And if you do get lost, watch the video. There is a portion of the practice that I do something different than instructed. And that's in the wide-legged forward fold. If you happen to be looking at that point, I just turn my body off the mat so that my ass is not pointing at the camera for like 15 solid seconds. I couldn't bear with that either. So onward towards destiny. This practice I made to be motivational. I was feeling quite stuck. I think this is a point when some of us might feel quite stuck, because we quite literally are. I think that it's quite difficult often to sit with yourself, to really sit with yourself. I know this because I spent many, many years distracting myself with a great number of things, to not sit with myself. And I think a lot of people do that because it's quite hard. And we are all kind of put in this position now where we're sitting with ourselves. We're being forced to in a lot of ways. And at the same time, facing a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. And when you have those two things together, it can be a recipe for depression. It can be a recipe for panic. But if you lean into the fear and you lean into the uncertainty and you lean into yourself, there's many, many new things to discover. Because if you want to lean into yourself, it's important to embrace the moment, to embrace and fully see, not just look at, but fully see where you are right now. This is where I am right now. This is how I live my life right now. Because you cannot deal with things in a healthy way. You cannot deal with things until you see them. Not just look at them, but see them. And when you see where you are and who you are and what you are, you can see yourself and your situation, your world with a new clarity. Thanks for joining me, guys. Before we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to find a comfortable seated position, either in easy pose, crisscross applesauce. You can put your folded blanket or towel sort of underneath your bum so you're sitting on the edge of it. This helps open up your SI joint and bring you to a neutral spine, which is a more comfortable position to be in while you're seated. I'm going to be in Virasana, which is on your knees or on my knees. The block underneath your bum, you can put a towel down, either on between the floor and your knees, or I like to put a towel sort of in my knee pit to help with any circulatory constriction that might happen there. I'd invite you, once you've found your comfortable seated position, to softly allow your eyes to close. You can bring your hands to your knees or the tops of your thighs, either palms up towards the ceiling if you're feeling inviting or openness. You can put them down, facing down on your knees if you're feeling a little bit more introspective or reflective, whichever way you're feeling right now. And begin to call attention to your breath, the life. And I'd like to ask you on an inhale to crunch your shoulders up towards your ears, and on an exhale, circle them back and press them down. On your next inhale, you can crunch your shoulders up to your ears again, and on an exhale, circle them back and down. We'll do one more of these on your inhale, crunching your shoulders up to your ears, and on the exhale, circling them back and down. And you can circle your head, make a little circle with your head to the right 2 times. Nice and gentle. And to the left 2 times. Slow and gentle. And when you're finished, you can return your head to its neutral position and maybe do a gentle no, bringing your head left to right a few times. And a very gentle yes, nodding your head up and down. And once you've found your place of stillness here, noticing a little bit of a difference already in your neck and shoulders, I'll ask you to begin to call attention to your breath. The life-giving ebb and flow of breathing. I'll invite you from here to count the length of your inhale and the length of your exhale. Doing your best over the next few rounds of breath to match the length of your exhale and the length of your inhale. So that if the length of your inhale is, say, the count of 5, eventually bring your exhale to the count of 5. And once you have found your sama vritti, or same breath, equal breath, I'll ask for you to do 6 rounds together. Once you've completed your 6 rounds, I'll invite you to release control of your breath and return to your natural breathing cycle. Call attention to the place where your body meets the earth, to your seat or your legs as they press against the ground. Admire the invisible and profound power of gravity that ties us to the earth. The energy of the earth flowing upwards through you. Call attention to what else you feel around you. The place where your hands meet your knees or your legs. The air on your skin. Is your jaw clenched? Is your brow furrowed? If you find that they are, you have mistaken this for your resting face. It is not. Allow them to release. Maybe inviting a yawn or opening your mouth. Take a moment to acknowledge the release inspired by an unclenched jaw as it travels down your neck and back. Bring your attention to what you hear in your space and time. What is the soundtrack to your moment? If thoughts begin to enter your mind, allow them to. Acknowledge them and watch as they go. These thoughts cannot serve you now. Release any worries of the past or fears for the future, calling attention only to the infinite beauty of this time and this place. When you are ready, you can allow your eyes to softly open, and we will begin our practice. We're going to start our practice in Sukhasana easy pose. So if you're in Virasana right now, you can pull the block from beneath your bum, grab your blanket or your towel, sit on the edge of your towel, and cross your legs in front of you. Inhale, stretching up high to the sky. And on an exhale, we're going to drift our left hand down to the space next to our left hip on the ground. Crunching your left side body, pressing your right hip to the ground and reaching over with your right hand. Let's breathe here for 2 more. And on your next inhale, you can reach back to center. And on an exhale, drift your right hand to the place next to your right hip, crunching your right side body and reaching over with your left hand. Pressing that left hip to the ground.
She was my woman. I love her so.
And on your next inhale, you can lift back to center. And we will do an easy twist. In an easy twist, you're going to circle your left arm back, stepping your left hip back. Bring your hand to a place on the ground behind your left hip and your right hand to your left knee. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist to the left. Your gaze can either stay in front of you or fall past your left shoulder. Inhale for 1 more, lengthen the spine. Exhale, deepening the twist. Inhale, and on your next exhale, you can release your left hand from behind you, step your left hip back to the front, and stretch big in the center. And we'll do the same thing on the right side, circling your right arm behind you, stepping your right hip back, bringing your left hand to your right knee. Inhale, lengthening the spine. Exhale, twist.
We shared the year. We shared each day. And love together.
Inhale, and on your next exhale, you can come back to center, stretching high in the center on an inhale. And on an exhale, we'll drift that left hand down again to the space next to our left hip, stretching over with our right hand for a lateral stretch. And on your next inhale, you can lift up back to center. Bring your right hand to the space next to your right hip. Stretch over with your left. Press that left hip to the ground. Inhale and come back to center. On your next exhale, we'll circle to the left, twist to the left. Twisting on an exhale, coming back to center, stretching up high to the sky. Inhale, and on an exhale, twist to the right. On your next exhale, you can step your right hip back. Inhale, stretch big. Come down through prayer position, bringing your hands to your knees. From here, we're going to go into Baddha Konasana. So release your crossed legs, bringing the soles of your feet in front of you, pressing them against each other. If you have any tightness in the inner thigh or discomfort in the knee, you can take a block and support your knee, placing it between the ground and your leg. You're going to bring the heels as close as you can with comfort to your groin and grab your ankles, or using your peace fingers, put them between your first and second toes. On an inhale, you're going to lengthen the spine, and on an exhale, fold forward, bringing your face to the direction of your feet. And we'll breathe here for 4. On your next inhale, you can lift up, coming back to a seated position. Stretch up high to the ceiling. Inhale, come down through prayer position. On an exhale, fold forwards. Baddha Konasana. On your next inhale, you can lift up back to center. Release your feet. Inhale, and on an exhale, we're going to bend your left knee, bringing the foot to the space between your knee and your groin, keeping your right foot extended in front of you. You can step that left hip back a little bit to open up your hips. And on an inhale, stretch up high to the ceiling. And on an exhale, fold forwards, reaching for the space just past your toes. If you can't, at this moment, reach your toes, a great tool is to get your strap and put it across the ball mount of your foot, holding the strap on either side of your foot. On your next inhale, you can lift up back to center. Extend your left knee, bend your right knee, bringing the sole of your foot to the space between your knee and your groin. Inhale, and on an exhale, fold forward. If you find that you can reach your toes and you're looking for a deeper stretch, another great tool is to get a block and press it against the ball mount of your foot while wrapping your hands around the block. Breathe here for 3 more. And on your next inhale, go ahead and lift up, bringing your feet back to center, bending your right knee so that your sole of your foot's on the ground next to your left knee, sort of meeting at your left knee. Inhale, stretching up high, and on an exhale, we're going to step that right hip back, circle the right arm behind us, finding the mat behind our hip, embracing your right knee with your left arm. If you're looking for a deeper twist, you can bring your elbow to the other side of your knee. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, deepen the twist. On your next inhale, you can release your right knee, circle your right arm back to center, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, bringing the sole of your left foot to your right knee, fighting with your right knee. Inhaling, stretching up high, and on an exhale, step your left hip back, circling your left arm behind you and landing on the ground. Embracing your left knee with your right elbow. Again, you can find a deeper twist if you need to. Lengthening the spine in the inhale and twisting deeper on the exhale. In your next inhale, you can release your arm from behind you, release your twist forward, and we'll find ourselves in tabletop, rolling over onto all fours with your wrists, elbows, and shoulders aligned, your knees and hips aligned, and we'll do some cat-cows. We're going to try and match our breath to our body movement here. So on your next exhale, untuck your tailbone, allowing your belly to drop to the ground and your chin to lift up, filling your lungs with air. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone, bring your belly button into your spine and tuck your chin to your chest. Untuck your tailbone, drop your belly, lift your chin. Exhale, tuck your tailbone,
Bring your belly button towards your spine, arching your back. Tuck your chin. We're going to do 6 rounds of these together. A round is a cow and a cat. You can continue this movement at your own rhythm and your own pace of your breath. Concentrating on moving your body with your breath, tying them together. Where the lights don't move and the colors don't fade. Leaves you empty with nothing but dreams. In a world gone shallow, in a world gone mean. Sometimes there's things a man. And when you're finished your 6 rounds, you can find a place of stillness with a neutral spine. I want you to tuck your toes, pressing your toes against the earth and pressing your palms against the earth. And on an inhale, lift a couple inches off the ground for floating tabletop. Hold this for 3 breaths. Inhale, lifting your booty. Exhale, pressing it back for Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can step your hands about 1 hand's length forward. You can allow your knees to bend a little bit. Your shoulders are not next to your ears, they're pressed down. Spine neutral. Heels energetically towards the ground. They don't have to be touching the ground right now. You can pedal your feet out for about 5 breaths. Do whatever just to stay alive. Well, the way I feel is the way I ride. Racing like the thoughts of a man who lies. And on your next inhale, drift your shoulders forward, lowering your booty, bringing your shoulders even with your elbows and your wrists, and finding plank position. Energetically sucking everything in towards the middle line of your body. Hold for 3. And on your next exhale, I'll invite you to lift your hips and press back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And on your next exhale, float back to plank. Inhale, and on your next exhale, press back to downward facing dog. Inhale, float forward to plank. Exhale, back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, and on your next exhale, you can drop your knees to the long edges of the mat. Lower your booty down to your heels, keep your hands out in front of you, extended in front of you, and press back to child's pose. Breathe here for 3. And on your next inhale, you can sort of, keeping your body low to the ground, straighten your knees, bending your elbows, bringing yourself to your belly with your face smooshing the ground, your toes at the long edges of the mat. And we're going to press the tops of our feet to the ground, press the tops of our thighs to the ground, lift our hands up about 1 inch off the mat, activate our back, extending the spine, lengthening the spine to find a nice back bend in Bhujangasana. Be sure to keep your gaze at the floor just in front of your mat, not lifting your chin. And on your next exhale, release. Bring your hands to the mat, bring your feet back to center. And we're going to press up through half plank. Activate the belly, press into the earth, and lift to the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you've reached 5, you can tuck your toes, find a plank position, hold this for a breath, and on the exhale, press back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Breathe here for 2. And on your next exhale, you can walk your feet about halfway to your hands, inhaling, and on an exhale, reach your right hand to the exterior of your left ankle, trying to grab that left ankle. If you're not there yet, that's great. You can just reach for it. And on your next exhale, you can release your hand from your left ankle. Inhale, and on an exhale, reach your left hand to your right ankle. Deepening that twist, breathing into it. On your next exhale, you can release that hand and walk your feet all the way up to meet your hands. Bring your hands to your shins. With a straight back, lift halfway up. Exhale, release your hands to the mat. And on an inhale, bend your knees generously and press your feet into the mat, curling up vertebrae by vertebrae. Stretch up all the way to the ceiling. And on an exhale, circle your arms back and down for Tadasana. Make sure your feet are parallel and hips width apart. Inhale, stretch up high to the sky. And on an exhale, circle your arms back and down, grasping your hands together behind you. On an inhale, find a back bend, slight back bend. And on an exhale, hinge forward at the hips with your arms clasped behind you. Breathe into this for a breath. And on your next inhale, imagine pressing your finger towards the ceiling, lifting up to standing, and release your grasp. Inhale, stretching up high to the sky, and on an exhale, come down through prayer position, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, plant your hands toward the ground, and step your right foot back and then your left for plank position. Lower to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Untuck your toes, bringing your toes to the long edges of the mat. Press the tops of your feet to the ground. Press the tops of your thighs to the ground. Tent your hands this time. That's your fingers pressed on the ground. And on an inhale, activate your back, lengthening your spine for Bhujangasana. Breathe here for 2. And on your next exhale, release back to the ground. Tuck your toes, pressing your palms against the ground. Press up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. And on an exhale, press up to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Step your left foot up and then your right. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release to the ground. Inhale, bend your knees generously, rolling up vertebrae by vertebrae, stretching your arms up for Urdhva Hastasana, circling back down on an exhale, and grasp your hands behind you. This time, bringing your opposite thumb on top, whatever your natural grasp is, do the opposite. On an inhale, find your mini back bend. And on an exhale, fold forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale, pull yourself back up to standing. Release your hands from behind your back. Inhale, stretch up high to the sky. Exhale, come down through prayer. Fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release. Plant your hands to the ground and step your left foot back and then your right to find plank. Lower to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release your toes, bring them to the long edges of the mat. Press the tops of your toes to the ground, press the tops of your thighs to the ground. Tent your fingers, and on an inhale, activate your back up, lengthening your spine for Bhujangasana. Exhale and release. Bring your toes back to center, tucking them in. Inhale, press up to the count of 5. And on an exhale, press back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Step your right foot in and then your left. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release down to the ground.
Bend your knees generously, and on an inhale, roll up vertebrae by vertebrae to standing, circling your arms up for Urdhva Hastasana. On an exhale, circling back down to Tadasana. Inhale, stretch up high, circle your arms back down, fold forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release to the ground. Step your right foot back and then your left for plank. Lower down for Bhujangasana, untucking your toes, pressing them to the long edges of the mat, pressing your thighs to the mat. Keep your palms of your hand down on the mat this time. And on an inhale, activate your back for Bhujangasana, being sure not to use your hands, but rather the muscles of your back to lift up. Exhale, release. Bring your toes back to center, tucking them in. Inhale and press up and back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Breathe here. And on your next exhale, step your left foot in and then your right. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release back to the mat. Bend your knees generously and inhale, curl up vertebrae by vertebrae to Tadasana. Circle your arms up for Urdhva Hastasana. And on an exhale, circle them back down, folding forward at the hips. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release your hands to the mat. Step your left foot back and then your right for plank. Inhale, and on an exhale, lower all the way to the ground, untucking your toes, bringing your toes to the long edges of the mat. Keeping the palms of your hand to the ground. Activate your back on an inhale for Bhujangasana. Exhale, release. Bring your toes back to center and press up in one straight line to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Step your right foot in and then your left. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release. And on an inhale, curl up vertebrae by vertebrae to standing. Stretch your arms up high, circle them back and down for Tadasana. We'll rest here for a moment in Tadasana, making sure our feet are parallel and hips width apart. Go ahead and stretch up high to the ceiling, and keeping your arms up by your ears, begin to sit back as if you're sitting in a chair. The weight borne in your heels, your knees energetically squeezing together, your tailbone tucked and then untucking slightly, activating everything towards the core of your body, the midline of your body. A good use of a prop here is to take a block, if you have one, and place it between your knees and squeeze it together. You'll feel a big difference in the stability of your pose. And on your next exhale, you can go ahead and begin to hinge forward, straightening your knees, and find Uttanasana, forward fold. On an inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release to the ground, and you can step or jump back to plank, half plank. Lower all the way to the ground for Bhujangasana, or do Chaturanga to upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. On an inhale, lift your right leg up, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground, and as you exhale, bring that knee into your chest and step it into the space between your hands. Be sure that your ankle is aligned with your knee and that your front foot is parallel to the long edges of the mat. You can bring your left foot, your back foot up a couple of little jumps, about a foot's length, and turn it to a 45 or so degree angle on the mat. So making sure that your front knee and ankle are aligned. Again, go ahead and press your feet into the mat. On an inhale, lifting up by cartwheeling your hands up to find Warrior Two. With your right leg in front of you, bent at the knee, your left leg extended behind you with your foot at a 45 degree angle. Your hips are turned slightly and open. You can find strength in Warrior Two by pressing your feet into the ground, untucking your tailbone slightly. Inhale, and on an exhale, allow your left arm to drop back and your right arm to extend over your head, Peaceful Warrior. Inhale, come back to center for Warrior Two, and on an exhale, you can drop your elbow to your front knee, extending your left arm over your head, You can also put a block at the inside of your right ankle and land your hand on top of that block. Or if you have the flexibility, bring your hand to the ground in front of your right ankle. Your left arm is going to be stretched out towards the ceiling with your gaze either forward or up towards the ceiling as well. Or you can extend your arm towards your ear. Inhale, come back up to center, warrior two. Straighten your front knee, and on an exhale with your right arm going to either your block or your interior right ankle for triangle pose. And on your next inhale, lift up, bending your front knee again for warrior two. And go ahead and cartwheel your arms back down. Find plank. Lower through Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. And lift your left leg to the ceiling, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground. And on an exhale, step that left knee into your chest and the space between your hands. Do your foot check, making sure your left ankle and knee are aligned. Your right leg is extended behind you. Your foot turned at a 45-degree angle. Press your feet into the ground, and on an inhale, cartwheel your hands up for warrior two. Inhale, and on an exhale, drop your right arm back to your right leg, extending your left arm over for peaceful warrior.
We are ruled by a governing frost. It melts beneath alcohol.
Inhale, come back to center for warrior two. And on your next exhale, drop your left elbow to your left knee or on the block next to your ankle or to the ground.
And it's taking its time.
And on your next inhale, come back up to warrior two, straighten your front knee, and on an exhale, bend back down for triangle on the left side. Inhale, coming back up to center, bend that left knee, warrior two, and on your next exhale, go ahead and cartwheel your hands down to plank, lowering to Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. Step or jump your feet back to meet your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release down to the ground. Inhale, curl up vertebrae to vertebrae. Stretch your arms up to your ears and find chair. Let's hold this for 3. You can bring your block back in if you want. And on your next inhale, you can press your feet into the mat, straightening your knees, and coming back up to standing, stretching up to Urdhva Hastasana. And on your next exhale, sit down like you're sitting into a chair again. We're going to hold our chair pose again for 3. On our third exhale, go ahead and straighten your knees and fold forward, 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 fold. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release your hands to the ground. Step or jump back to plank. From plank, you can lower down again through Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog and then downward facing dog. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground. And on your exhale, bring your knee into your chest, stepping it into the space between your hands. Do your foot check again. And pressing into your feet on your next inhale, cartwheel your hands up to warrior two. You should see only your first and second toes of your right foot. Inhale, and on your next exhale, drop your left arm back for peaceful warrior. Inhale, come back to center for warrior two, and exhale, drop down to side angle pose. Inhale, come back up to center, straightening that front knee, and bow back down for triangle. Inhale, coming back up to center, and this time, instead of bending your knee, keep that knee straight and rotate on your heels to find a wide-legged stance.
If you stand with your feet apart, your ankles should be about even with your wrists as your arms are extended. You can check your alignment there. And go ahead, once you find it, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, and on an exhale, forward fold, stopping halfway. Inhale, and exhale, release to the mat. If you have difficulties reaching the mat at this point, feel free to bring a block in. You can put a block under each hand to bring the ground up to you. Bring your hands to your hips, and on your next inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, and on your next inhale, stand all the way up. You're going to rotate on your right heel again, back to warrior two on the right side, and on your exhale, cartwheel your hands down, bringing your right foot back to meet your left, finding plank position, lowering down to Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left foot up, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground, bring that knee in to your chest, eventually to the space between your hands. Pressing your feet into the ground after your foot check, go ahead and cartwheel your hands up on an inhale to find warrior two. Press your feet into the mat, inhale, and on an exhale, peaceful warrior. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, triangle. Inhale, come back to center. And once again, we're going to rotate on our heels to find wide-legged stance on our left side. Again, do your check that your wrists and ankles are aligned. Bring your hands to the hips. Inhale, and on an exhale, fold forward, stopping halfway. And on your next exhale, fold all the way to the mat or to blocks. Go ahead and bring your hands to your hips, and on your next inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, inhale, lift up all the way back to standing. Go ahead and rotate on your heel again to find warrior two again on your left side. Inhale, and on an exhale, cartwheel your hands down, bring your left foot back to meet your right for plank, and then do your vinyasana of choice. Eventually finding downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Step or jump your feet back to meet your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release to the ground. Inhale, curl up vertebrae by vertebrae, keeping your knees generously bent, finding chair position with your arms up by your ears. Inhale, press your feet into the ground, straightening your knees to find Urdhva Hastasana. Stretch up high in the sky, and on an exhale, sit back down again as if you're sitting in a chair. On your next exhale, you can begin to straighten your knees and hinge forward at the hips, releasing into Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release into the ground, and step or jump back to plank. Lower through plank or half plank to Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right foot up. Step it into the space between your hands. Do your foot check and cartwheel your hands up to warrior two on the right side, pressing those strong feet into that mat. Gaze past your middle finger on your right hand. Inhale, and on an exhale, drop back to peaceful. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, back to center, straighten that front knee. Exhale, triangle. Inhale, back to center. Rotate on those heels to find a wide-legged stance. Doing your check again. Bring your hands to your hips. And on an exhale, fold forward, stopping halfway. Inhale, exhale, go all the way to the mat or to blocks or wherever you want. Inhale, lift halfway up, stopping halfway. And this time, drop your left hand to the mat or to blocks, sort of in front of your nose. Inhale, and on an exhale, you're going to twist to the right, extending your right arm towards the ceiling. Breathe into that twist. Your gaze can fall forward or up to the ceiling. Inhale, and on your next exhale, untwist, replacing your left hand with your right hand. Inhale, and on an exhale, press that right palm into the ground and extend your left arm up towards the ceiling.
So make a visor with your hand.
Really breathing into that.
Where you're from. A lonely line of
Inhale, and on the next exhale, undo your twist. Bring both palms to the mat. Bring your hands to your hips. And inhale, come up to standing. From standing, we're going to rotate back on our heels to find Warrior 2 again on our right side. Inhale, and on an exhale, cartwheel your hands down, stepping your right foot back to meet your left, and then going through your vinyasana of choice. Eventually finding yourself back in downward facing dog.
So stay a while and watch the wind throw past.
On an inhale, bring your left foot up, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground, and tucking that knee into your chest, step into the space between your hands. Do your foot check, and on your next inhale, cartwheel your hands up to Warrior 2 on your left side. Inhale, and on an exhale, find Peaceful Warrior. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, side angle pose. Inhale, back to center, straighten that front knee. Exhale, triangle. Inhale, back to center. And we're going to turn on our heels again to find wide-legged stance on our left side, doing our wrist and ankle check. Bring our hands to our hips, and on an exhale, fold forward, stopping halfway. Inhale, and exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale, lifting back to center again. Bring your right hand down to either the mat or a block, sort of in front of your face, in line with your nose. Inhale, and on an exhale, twist to the left, extending your left arm high towards the ceiling. Breathe into this. Inhale, and on your next exhale, release your hand into the mat, replacing your right hand with your left hand. And on your next exhale, twisting to the right. Bringing that right hand up, pointed towards the ceiling. Your gaze can either go towards the ceiling or in front of you. Inhale, and on your next exhale, release, bringing both palms to the mat. And then hands to hips, and on your next inhale, lifting up to standing. Rotate on that heel again, finding Warrior 2 again on your left side. Inhale, and on an exhale, cartwheel your hands back down, bringing your left foot back to meet your right, and going through your vinyasana of choice, eventually to find downward facing dog. Step or jump your feet back to meet your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release to the ground. Inhale, bend your knees generously, rolling vertebrae by vertebrae up to chair. Breathing here for 3. And then eventually pressing your feet into the mat, lifting up to Urdhva Hastasana. Circle your arms back and down to find Tadasana. Stretching up high for Urdhva Hastasana, come down through prayer to Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, plant your hands next to your feet and step or jump back to plank. Once you find plank, you can lower down to Bhujangasana or Chaturanga to upward facing dog and then downward facing dog. And on an inhale, Lift your right foot up, and on an exhale, bring your knee in towards your chest, dropping your knee just behind your right wrist with your right heel next to your left hip. So you're going across your body. Your toes should be pointed down towards your left foot as much as you can. You will be resting sort of on your right leg. You can lower down onto your elbows and bring your hands one on top of the other, sort of in front of your forehead on the ground, and you can rest your forehead on your hands. If you have a space between your right thigh and the ground, you can go ahead and put a folded towel to fill that space so you don't strain those muscles. And on your next inhale, you can go ahead and gently lift yourself up onto your elbows and then your hands, and push yourself up again to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Lift your left foot up on an inhale, heel to the ceiling, toes to the ground. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, bringing your left knee behind your left wrist and your left ankle near your right hip. Your toes want to be pointed towards your right foot. And again, if you have a space between your leg and the floor, go ahead and fill it with a towel. Bring yourself down to your elbows, forehead resting on the hands. On your next inhale, you can lift yourself up onto your elbows and then your hands, and then eventually pressing back up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Let's breathe here. And on your next exhale, go ahead and drop your knees to the wide edges of the mat, untuck your toes, drop your bum back to your heels, keeping your hands extended in front of you, and child's pose. Finding a place of rest here. And on your next inhale, you can bring yourself up to tabletop and then Virasana. That's on your knees. From Virasana, we're going to take our folded blanket and fold it up into a nugget so that the folded blanket is even with our bum. You're going to put it to the right side of the floor, right next to your right hip, and lift your hips up and scoot to the right so that one butt cheek's on the towel or blanket and one's on your foot. Inhale, and on an exhale, circle your right arm behind you, finding the floor or wrapping it in a bind around your lower back, bringing your left hand to the outside of your right hip. Inhale, extending the spine, and exhale, breathe for the twist. Your gaze can fall in front of you, or you can gaze past that right shoulder, lengthening on the inhale, deepening the twist on the exhale. On your next exhale, you can release your hand, your right hand from behind you or the ground. Release your left hand from your knee. Scoot yourself back to center. Go ahead and bring the towel to your left side now. You can lift your hips up and scoot your bottom to the left a small bit so your left butt cheek's on the towel and your right one is on your heel. Inhale, stretching up, and on an exhale, twist to the left, wrapping that left arm behind you or finding the floor and bringing your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. Inhaling, lengthening the spine, exhaling, deepening the twist. On your next exhale, you can release your left hand from behind you, release your right hand, undo your twist, pick your towel up, and toss it aside.
because now we go into the tabletop on all fours, tucking your toes and pressing into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. On your next exhale, step your right foot in between your hands, untucking your left toe and dropping your left knee to the ground, making sure that your right knee is in line with your right ankle. And on an inhale, lift up. We'll breathe here for 2. And on the second exhale, you can go ahead and drift that right knee forward a small bit, finding a nice back bend, finding a beautiful stretch in your left front thigh. On your next inhale, you can drift that knee back to center, drop your hands down to the mat, get your blocks, if you have them, put them on their tallest setting underneath your hands, and you're going to press into them, lift your right foot from off the ground, extend your right leg so that your heel is on the mat and your toes are extended towards the ceiling. You want to make sure that your hips are square by energetically squeezing your legs together as if they're scissors. Inhale. And on an exhale, begin to walk your blocks forward for a half split. If you have the flexibility, you can drop your blocks and use them and just press your hands against the mat. Keeping that right foot active, stretching that back of that right leg. On your next inhale, you can grab your blocks up, walk them back, bending that right knee and bring the sole of that right foot back to the mat, and then plank or half plank. Pressing up for Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, and on your next exhale, step that left foot forward, untucking your right toe and dropping your right knee to the ground. Make sure that your left ankle is in line with your left knee. And then on your next inhale, pressing the top of your right foot to the ground, pressing the sole of your left foot to the ground. Lift up. On the second exhale, drifting that left knee forward, finding a nice little back bend, stretching the front of your right thigh, breathing into it. On your next inhale, you can drift that knee back to center, grab up your blocks, lean into them, extending your left leg, activating that left foot. Inhale, and on an exhale, walk those blocks forward for half split on your left side. Again, if you have the flexibility, you can drop your blocks and bring your hands to the ground, or you can stay on your blocks, whatever feels good. On your next inhale, you can grab your blocks up, pressing into them, bend that left knee, bringing the sole of your left foot to the ground, then plank, then downward facing dog. Breathe into this for 2. And on your second exhale, drop your knees to the ground, this time with your knees squeezing together, and drop your booty to your heels for child's pose. On your next inhale, sort of staying low, extend your legs and find ourselves on our bellies on the mat. You can bring your hands down to your hips with your palms facing up and then roll over onto your back. Knees bent, soles of feet on the ground, hands at your hips or on your belly, whichever is most comfortable. You can begin to gently windshield wipe your knees left and right.
Staring in the eyes of the snake, you just smile, 'cause you know.
And once you find a place of stillness, bring your knees back to center and begin to scoot your heels as close to your bottom as you can. On an inhale, with your hands at your side, palms facing down, press your heels into the mat and begin to lift your hips off the ground, pressing the tops of your shoulders to the ground, flaring your ribcage towards the ceiling for bridge pose. There should be no tension in the neck. There should be no difficulty breathing. If you're having difficulties breathing, then lower your hips a little bit. Breathe into this incredible heart-opening pose.
What you would keep from going asunder. For
On your next exhale, you can begin to lower your hips to the ground and gently windshield wiper your knees left and right.
and it does not answer when you.
And we will once again find bridge pose, creeping our heels up close to our bottoms again, pressing into our heels, weight borne in our heels, lifting our hips, flaring our rib cages out, pressing into our shoulders and the tops of our backs.
But beware, and honey, you need not be scared. Pay.
And on your next exhale, you can lower your hips back to the ground and windshield wiper your knees left and right, feeling the changes in our body through our practice. And on your next exhale, you can loosely tuck your knees into your chest and then extend your knees so the soles of your feet are pointed directly at the ceiling. Rest here for a moment.
All the days that came before, and all the nights you tried to believe it. And take heart and take care, be true, but beware.
And when you're ready, you can go ahead and grab your strap, or whatever it is you're using for a strap, and wrap it around the ball mounts of both of your feet, keeping the strap on either side in either hand. Press the ball mounts of your feet into the strap while flaring your toes towards your face to get a beautiful stretch of the backs of your legs.
Time is the mender, whose strange mechanics yet untold bid us rise and twine
Breathing into this moment.
together.
Inhale, and on your next exhale, you can go ahead and release the strap from your left foot, keeping it wrapped around the ball mount of your right foot. Inhale, and on an exhale, you can either lower the sole of your left foot to the ground by bending your knee, and then extend your knee out in front of you so that your left leg is extended, flat, and active on the ground. Or you can release the strap from your left foot and slowly, with control, lower your extended left leg all the way to the ground,
We need not be scared.
pressing the back of your left thigh to the ground and pressing into the ball mount of your right foot, pressing into that strap.
I wasn't afraid, I was a boy, I was a tender age.
On your next inhale, you can bring that foot back up, pointing the sole of your left foot to the ceiling, and switch the strap from your right foot to your left. So you're going to do the same thing, pressing the ball mount of the left foot against the strap, and lowering slowly with control your right foot, either by bending the knee or keeping it extended the whole time all the way to the mat. Don't forget to keep that right foot active, pressing that right thigh to the ground.
Pray best against the pain, could see the veins and there was poison.
And on your next inhale, you can bring that right foot back up to center, release the strap from the ball mounts of your feet, and put it aside. Bend your knees together now, bringing the soles of your feet to the ground, and your arms out to a T. And we'll rest here for a few breaths.
Take another boat wide. Honey in the hair that fill the pails and love less so faint.
On an inhale, you can press the soles of your feet into the ground gently, lift your hips a little bit, and bring them a couple inches to the right, dropping them down. Inhale, and on an exhale, you can drop your knees to the left for revolved belly pose. Keeping your arms out at a T. Your gaze can stay at the ceiling or it can fall towards the right. Breathe into this twist.
Aiming and sunk and we were drunk and we fleshed it out. Nose up in the clothes, you never know if you were passing out.
On your next inhale, you can bring your knees back to center, press the soles of your feet to the ground, lifting the hips and shifting them back to center, and lift your hips up again, shifting them to the left this time, and dropping your knees gently to the right.
Love could hardly leave the room. With your heart.
On your next inhale, you can bring your knees back to center, press the soles of your feet into the ground, and shift your hips back to center. And on your next exhale, bring your knees into your chest, bringing your shoulders towards your knees, and embracing your shins, turning yourself into a tight ball as much as you can, like a little seed. Breathe here, making yourself small. And on an exhale, you can slowly, with control, extend your limbs out. And we will find Shavasana. You can get whatever props you need to be comfortable in Shavasana. You can make a little pillow out of a blanket by folding the square and then tucking two corners in to form a little triangle for your head, bringing the base of that triangle towards your shoulders. Once we find a nice position laying down, extend your limbs out in a sort of loose starfish, radiating from your core. And we will find Shavasana, this pose of relaxation and restoration, a way to thank our body for carrying us through our practice, for carrying us through this life, for putting up with all of the things that we've done to it. I would ask you now to once again begin to call attention to your breathing, releasing into the ebb and flow of your natural breath cycle. As you call attention to your breathing, once again begin to count the lengths of your inhales and the length of your exhale. Whatever the count of your inhale, match the count of your exhale. When you find your Samavriti, I will ask you to try and extend the length of your exhale, so that if your inhale is the count of 5, make your exhale the count of 6, or 7, or 8. You can release control of your breath and return to your own natural breathing cycle. Wherever you are, here you are. Imagine a soft, glowing ball has appeared at the crown of your head. Take account of what color it is. Is it blue or red or yellow? Is it fiery and wild and pulsating like the sun? Or smooth and calm and glowing from within? Imagine that this light radiates a comforting warmth that reaches the crown of your head, loosening the skin of your scalp, making it relaxed and heavy. Marvel as that netting of skin releases and melts in to the earth. Follow that warming light as it travels down your forehead to the space between your eyebrows, warming the muscles of your brow, allowing them to become heavy and melt in to the earth. Follow that warmth as it travels down your face to your jaw, removing your tongue from the roof of your mouth, loosening a clenched jaw, and allowing it to become heavy and melt in to the earth. Follow this light as it travels just above your heart. Feel the radiating warmth as it fills you, loosening the muscles of a tightened chest, softening a hardened heart. Marvel as that warming light radiates across your body, past your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrists, down your spine, past your hips, your knees, your ankles, and the soles of your feet, allowing them all to become heavy and melt into the earth. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still for once on the face of the earth. Let's not speak any language. Let's stop for a second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the men gathering salt would not look at their hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count up to 12, and you will keep quiet, and I will go. When you feel ready, you can begin to introduce small movements back into your body. A wiggling of the fingers, a wiggling of the toes. And gradually you can bring in larger movements. Maybe bringing your arms up to your ears and stretching a nice deep good morning stretch. And when you're ready, you can turn to your right side using your right arm as a pillow and bring your knees up into a loose fetal position.
Bring your left palm to the ground in front of you when you're able, and press into that left palm, lifting yourself into a comfortable seated position. Thank you so much for joining me at this practice today. It was my honor to make this for y'all, and I hope you enjoyed it. The light in me sees and honors the light in every single one of you. Namaste.